What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and bringing another little nugget to add to the Soul Tribe archive. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Venus in Libra in the 5th house, and this is an excellent place for Venus to be in. Venus is doing well. Now, when you talk about the lovely Venus, the nature of Venus is to do with the things of what we love, what we desire. Venus, it has a very strong attractive quality. It brings about this sense of unions, whether that be in friendships, in companionship, in marriage, whatever that looks like. Venus is all about the union, the concord, the harmony, laughter. That's going to be all the pleasant things. That's what Venus wants to bring in, that sense of light and beauty. And there is a strong creative aspect with Venus as well. If you've ever seen Venus, Venus is a lovely sight, and Venus has brings about this capacity for arts and yeah, just all sorts of those sort of like kind of creative Venusian skills. So another thing to think about with Venus, and also Venus is the lesser benefic. So especially if you have a night chart, you want to have a good relationship with Venus because Venus is going to be his most beneficent in a night chart. Now, when you talk about Libra, one of the reasons that this is such a great place for Venus is because this is one of the home signs of Venus. And when you have, so that means Venus being in her domicile, when you have a planet in its domicile, that just means it's at home and it's free. Venus is able to do the things that it does well. It has all the resources that it needs here in Libra. And Libra is a cardinal air sign, and they are active or yang in nature. And this is the side of Venus that is that just knows the right thing to say, that weighs the option, like, okay, how is this going to land? How is this going to, how am I going to be perceived here? How can I bring it? Like there's a tactful side of Libra. There's an elegance that comes, a refinement with Libra, sophistication. Those are going to be some of the things that I think about with the Libra energy. But they're the initiators of thought. There's a brilliance behind Libra, very smart mental energy, real creative, I think, energy as well, of course, with that Venusian flair as well, whether that be in music and poetry, all those sorts of things. But yeah, first and foremost, I think it's remembering that with Libra, it's all about balance. And there is this almost like this contract with chaos in a sense, to try to, you have this thing that you're intervening in, or that you're involved in Libra. It's like, okay, how do I get into this thing? What is those ideas? Libra can be a very innovative energy. So just a couple things with that one. And then when you get to the fifth house in ancient astrology was known as the house of good fortune. Who doesn't love that? And it's going to be one of the succeeding houses. And some of the themes that this covers is going to deal with themes of children, pregnancy, sex, pleasures, creativity, things along those lines. So when you're working with this placement, a couple of things to consider. One, you would have a Gemini rising by whole sign, and have to look too far to see who rules this house, because Venus does. And Venus is going to import the themes of the 12th house to this house, which is going to deal with like loss, sickness, especially kind of long-term illnesses, enemies, confinement, sorrow, things along those lines. So one thing that I would kind of explore, because that is an interesting energy that Venus is, those with Taurus being in the 12th house, how it's pulling those themes here. One way that I could see this coming up as is maybe, because children would probably obviously be something that shows up in this mix, whether it be just like a love for children, but it could be something where you're working with children who might be dealing with some sort of like maybe like illnesses, maybe. So you might be working like the medical field possibly there, where you're helping kids, maybe who are stuck in kind of confinement and things like that, kind of helping nursing them along. I see Venus could be, I think, especially with like a Gemini rising and a Venus, especially if Venus is like on the ascendant, or aspecting the ascendant. I could see this as just being not just a breath of fresh air, but like it's like honeydew, or not honeydew, honeysuckle getting caught on the wind. Just again, there's that sense of sweetness that I think that could be brought into the space. I think there would be a very kind of natural skill in being able to, at least with children, to be able to understand them, how to help to bring that sense of laughter and that sense of joy, even maybe when they're dealing with those tough times, and that could be something too, whether if it's like maybe working at a hospital, or maybe it's something for like therapy, because well, we all go through like those kind of 12th house themes, 6th house themes, 8th house themes, and so when they're going through those kind of maybe whatever tough aspects, so that could be someone who can help, someone to kind of guide them through those kind of tough times, to develop the language to with that Libra energy, that cardinal energy, bring and introduce new ways of thinking, new ways of kind of seeing the other side of something. I think Libra is excellent for that. you know this could be even someone too. Maybe you happen to work with just like people who are maybe work as like a baby nurse or a baby doctor. I say that all the time, and I need to look that up because I have the word is on the tip of my tongue. But leave in the comment section if you know what I'm talking about. But maybe something along those lines. Maybe help. Maybe working as a sort of like a doula, or maybe even helping with people just like who are maybe dealing with like maybe some sort of like fertility problems. That could be even something that could potentially come up there. Maybe even something with like thinking of fifth house sexuality. That might be another thing. Maybe helping some sort of like maybe therapy around that, or just helping people kind of get in touch with that, have a healthier relationship there. So that might even be another thing that can manifest. I would even think too, maybe someone who could, if you have any sort of like artistic things that you do, maybe you can start like do some sort of like art therapies, whether you're helping people, create music, or maybe it's through painting, maybe it's through sculpting, aromatherapy, whatever, whatever Venusian thing that you just happen to be doing, whatever innate skill that you have that can help something, a lot of people, not only just work, process through things, but to create something beautiful out of those kind of hardships. So that's even just great in itself. But then do that, make sure that you're doing that for yourself too. That would be something where I would even kind of explore what are your creative talents, because this is a very creative Venus. This is one that I think could especially take some time for yourself to cultivate your hobbies, your passions, the things that you find enjoyable. And it's not even necessarily doing anything with it if you want to monetize with it or not, but it's just more so to just have those means of expression, especially when you're going through those like 12th house things, because again, we all go through them. So to have that sort of healthy outlet there, something that maybe your inner child like to do, whatever that might be. So that's something maybe that might be worth exploring there. I would think maybe, let's see, what are some else things? The fifth house, even too, there may be some themes where trying to find that balance between, because it's interesting. You got the love with that kind of fifth house there, that kind of lost there with the 12th house. So there may be those times where learning how to move through those when we go through relationships like that, when you're getting romantically involved, and then if something doesn't happen to go through or whatever that might be happen, there may be some themes around that. But yeah, and then just kind of explore maybe, and what are your thoughts around kids? Would that be something that you would want to maybe think about doing someday, whether it be having your own kids or maybe adopting some kind of kids, whatever, however that might be looking like for you. So those themes may be something that may be on the forefront there. But yeah, those would be just some rough themes, some basic themes that I would talk about with someone with this placement. You definitely need the whole chart to get an idea of what's going on with the placements. But if you have this placement or know someone who's working with this placement, down in the comment section, let us know how this is manifested for you. I think that it's nice to have those kind of notes to see where we can have the same placement but have it manifest in such unique ways, but still have that same kind of underlying kind of tone there, and see what nuances are changing the flavor of it. But and that's something too, if you want to get more familiar with, if you have this placement or whatever, you just want to get to know your natal chart more personally, or if you want to see what transits are coming up for you, whether it be through perfections, or if you want to schedule these sort of like elections, whether it be for maybe doing some like a starting up a business, or maybe you're getting ready to publish a book, or you're going to get ready to whatever this, go on a trip or something. Then down in the description box, there is a link to book a consultation with me. And if you have any questions about the services that I provide, my email's down there as well, so definitely feel free to reach out with me for that as well. And then last couple things, there are a couple of links for some playlists down there. One is for the Celestial News Weekly that talks about the sun and the other classical planets, what aspect they're forming, what signs are going to be most affected, and how to most practically work with those energies. And then there's another one for the lunar shenanigans, and that just talks about the moon astrology, similar thing, what sign the moon's in, what phase it's in, when it happens to go void of course, and just to get a feel for the week as we're kind of going through these things there. Though it's always good to keep eyes on that moon. But that's all I got for you there. So until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep raising that vibration through the roof. And I will catch you on the next one later.